Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Folks, I'm coming here with an update on earthquakes. Okay? Today, the earthquake started in Alaska and over in the Kuril Islands just south of Kamchatka Peninsula. Earthquakes are continuing over off the west coast, over off the coast of Northern California, and they're also going down towards San Francisco on the San Andreas Fault. So folks, we have a lot to talk about tonight. I'm going to take down our banner here. I'm going to take down my mug here in just a minute, as soon as I bring up the earthquake map here. Folks, there's a lot to say here. Look at the earthquakes here. Okay? These are very strong sixes. Very strong sixes, guys. I'm going to open these earthquakes up to let you see exactly what is going on. I want to make sure everybody understands the significance of what is happening here. This is big time. This is big time, guys. Now, I don't want to have anybody think that you all are in danger. That is not why I'm showing you this tonight. There is reason to believe that we're getting hit with more earthquakes than not. Okay? We're getting hit with more earthquakes than not. I want to show you this earthquake up north here. This is a 5.4 earthquake. This came out at 3:39 p.m. this afternoon. This is an aftershock of a 6.3. This is a large 5.0. This is an aftershock of the 6.3. This came out at 15:23 hours today, 3:23 p.m. Let's go further south here. This is a 6.3 that hit tonight. There have been 3 6.3s hit. This is one of them. This happened at 19:15 hours, 7:15 p.m. Just south of there. This is a 5.2. A large 5.2. This happened at 19:22, 7:22 p.m. This is an aftershock of this 6.3 here that happened tonight. We go over here to the south and west. This is another 6.3. This 6.3 was the original one that hit. This happened at 2:57 p.m. this afternoon. This was the first of 3 6.3s. Then we come further south and west. This is a 6.1. This happened at 1938. This very strong 6.1 is an aftershock of the 6.3. This is how strong these earthquakes are. 6.3s and 6.1s. However, this 6.3 was originally a 6.4. Was originally a 6.4. I'm going to show you some other earthquakes here real quick. This is a 5.8 large quake. Very large quake. 5.5 to 5.9 are considered to be very large earthquakes. 5.0, 5.5 are large earthquakes. 5.6 to 5.9 are very large earthquakes. This earthquake to the east here. This is a 5.2. This is also an aftershock of the last 6.3 that we got. This happened at 19:30 hours. 7:30 p.m. tonight. I just got a notification in my ear. We just had another 4.2. Also up here in the Adak Island area, what they call the Andrew Islands. Let's go southeast. This is another large 5.0. This happened at 1501, 3:01 p.m. This was an aftershock of the other one that came out at 2:57, the 6.3. This is another large 5.0. This is after. This is an aftershock from the last 6.3 that we had. This came out at 1921 hours, 7:21 p.m. And as you can see, we have several other small and moderate earthquakes. This one is a 3.8. This one is a 4.8. This came out at 4:42 p.m. This is a 4.4. This came out just after. This is an aftershock of this first 6.3. This happened at 3:09 p.m. this afternoon. We have a lot more earthquakes still hitting. This is a 4.5. This came out at 7:32 p.m. Eastern Time. All the times I'm giving you are Eastern Time. This is a big deal. Okay? Now, why am I coming on the air right now? I'm going to back this off. I'm going to give you a full-blown view of what I see here. These are where these earthquakes are. Okay, this is near Adak, Alaska, 102 kilometers southwest of Adak, Alaska. This is in what they call the Adrianoff Island area. This earthquake to the north here, this is large 5.2. This came out at 1931, 7:31 p.m. Let me back off here. All these swarms of earthquakes are headed east. All these swarms of earthquakes are headed east through the Aleutian Islands. Now, normally I wouldn't say too much. However, we've had too many earthquakes. Too many earthquakes. These are headed up through the Aleutian Islands. I'm putting Alaska on notice. I'm putting mainland Alaska on notice. An earthquake watch for the next 48 hours. I believe there's a large earthquake headed for mainland Alaska. These earthquakes can be a heavy blow to the economy of Alaska. So I'm putting up an earthquake watch for Alaska, particularly over here near Anchorage. This area here. Okay? Anchorage is up here. I fully believe that we may have a large earthquake incoming to Anchorage. These are very strong earthquakes. These are very strong earthquakes. These are sixes, mid-range sixes. Yes, they came out as 6.3s. We've even had a 6.4. But I believe these are all fully intended on being mid-range sixes. Why do I say that? Let me pull these earthquakes down for a minute. I want to show you another slide here. Give me a second to pull it up, please. The first thing I want to show you is this slide here. Okay? Again, this earthquake happened earlier this afternoon, at 6.3. However, let me pull this down and let me show you something. Look at this 6.3. 86 stations reporting, and yet no station details contributed, meaning they do not want us to see what happened. They don't want us to see the seismograph totals. Look at this. This is a 6.1 with 93 stations reporting. But they are willing to let us see the station details. 93 stations reporting here. Let's come down here. This is a 6.1. Another 6.1. No station details available. Let's come down here further. This is at least a 6.2 earthquake with 998 stations reporting. Well, folks, I studied it now. There are over 1,500 stations reporting, not 998. Over 1,500 stations reporting. Let me give you some information here. And this is important. This is vitally important. Why? I want you to look at these stations reporting. And this is just part of it. This is just part of it. Look at these seismographs reporting this earthquake. It starts out as a 5.87, 6.12, 6.07, 6.13. Well, look at these other readings here. 6.37, 6.56, 6.75, 6.8, 6.19, 6.43, 6.22, 6.43, 6.32, 6.36, 6.56, 6.58, 6.5, 6.4, and it goes on. Folks, what they don't want us to know are what the seismographs are reporting. As you can see, yes, there are 6s, 6.3s, there are 6.5s, there's a 6.8 and a 6.7 as well. Folks, this earthquake here, though they reported it as a 6.3, this earthquake was a 6.7. This earthquake was a 6.7 magnitude quake. And they don't want anybody to know. They don't want anybody to know what's going on here. And I'm here to tell you this. That we don't hold USGS's feet to the fire. They're going to continue to do this to us. They're going to continue to report information that's not correct. Now, I'm going to put in a report to Elon Musk tonight. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to send a report to President Trump, advising him what we have here. Hurricane Heather says there was a 6.5 this morning, so is this the second or third one today? This is actually the fourth 6.3. It was the fourth 6.3. And there was a 6.4. But that 6.4 was probably a 6.7, 6.8. So what we're dealing with here is a near major earthquake. What we're dealing with is a near major earthquake. USGS is reporting two felt reports. Two felt reports. Probably scientists on Adak Island, 114 miles east of there. It's important to understand what's happening. Again, I'm putting Alaska on an earthquake watch for 48 hours to see what happens. It may take longer than that for that seismic energy to reach mainland Alaska. But I'm going to put mainland Alaska on a 48-hour earthquake watch. I believe we're going to have large earthquakes. Okay? I believe we're going to have large earthquakes. Now this earthquake here, south of Kamchatka Peninsula in the Kuril Islands, this is a 6.0 magnitude quake. This is 207 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow earthquake. 6.0, very strong earthquake. Let's go back up here into Alaska. This earthquake is 6.1. Was a very shallow earthquake, 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. Let me open this up. This is a 6.3 that was actually the first one. This is 18 kilometers deep. This is the last one that was 6.4 that they downgraded to 6.3. This was actually the 6.8. Okay? This is that 6.8 I told you about. This is also 19 kilometers deep. Just a little less than 10 miles deep. Very shallow earthquake. Now, if these were deep earthquakes, we would probably have more earthquakes coming. Yet we do have more earthquakes coming because this seismic energy is moving east on the Aleutian Island Fault Zone. These big earthquakes are moving east through the Aleutian Island Fault Zone. Yes, we may have some earthquakes that still out here in this area, where we've had major earthquakes happen. But I don't think that's going to happen this time. It might, but I doubt it. I believe within 48 hours we're going to see these large earthquakes, these very strong earthquakes, come up here to mainland Alaska. There are too many of them. There are too many of them to just sit there or take their time going through the Aleutian Island Fault Zone. These are going to continue moving east. And I'm going to be monitoring this tonight. This seismic energy continues to move like I think it might. I may be on the air tonight or early in the morning to tell you that mainland Alaska has had a very large earthquake. We shall see what we see. Now, I want to come down here to the Pacific Northwest. We've had some earthquakes over here off the Blanco Fracture Zone, also part of the Cascadia Subduction Zone region. The Cascadia Subduction Zone region. This is a 3.2 small earthquake. 203 kilometers west of Bandon, Oregon. We've had many earthquakes just like it in the same location. This is 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. This is a 3.9, 4.0. Again, I'm rounding it up because we know that the United States Geological Survey is stupid, or they want to think that we are stupid. Too stupid to realize what we see going on. We know that the 0.9 Society is alive and well, that they downgrade these earthquakes. They may have downgraded this to a 3.9, but I believe this was at least a 4.0, 4.1 earthquake off the Blanco Fracture Zone. Again, this is in the Cascadia Subduction Zone region. We need to remember that. Let's go further south. Let's come down here to the Gorda Escarpment, the Triple Junction area, where the Gorda Escarpment, the San Andreas Fault, and the Cascadia Subduction Zone meet. Right in this area here. We can still see a lot of earthquakes here. West of the Cascadia, we have a 4.3 earthquake here. We have a 3.3 earthquake here. We have a 3.6 here. Over here in the Triple Junction, we have one earthquake. This is a 2.4. This is 9.2 kilometers deep, 5 miles deep. South of there, we have a 2.3. 2.2 here. 2.3 here. But look what we have on the San Andreas Fault. Today we have more earthquakes here on the San Andreas Fault than we've had here since this whole sequence of events have happened. A 3.0, 2.7, 2.1, 2.9, 2.9. Again, these 2.9s, I believe, are probably 3.0s at least. This is a 2.1. This red dot here is a brand new earthquake. This is a 2.6, 12 kilometers deep. Excuse me a second, I'm going to have to take this map down. We'll come back to it in just a second here. We'll come back to this in just a second. They mess with us all the time here. I'm going to take the map down, I'm going to bring it back up. They do it to us every time we have this map up. Every time we access this map, they do this. Sorry about that. Let's go back up here to the Cascadia Subduction Zone area. There's a reason for my madness here. There's a method for my madness. Again, look at all these earthquakes on the San Andreas Fault. This is a 3.1 small quake. This is a 2.6. This is a 2.0. This is a 1.8 tremor. This is a 2.2 earthquake. 2.0, 2.9 are minor earthquakes. 3.0 to 3.9 are small earthquakes. They come further south on the San Andreas Fault. This is a 2.2 minor earthquake. This is 14 kilometers south of Petrolia, California. Yes, we have one out here to the east on the Mendocino Fault. This is also a 2.2 earthquake. But look at all these earthquakes on the San Andreas. Look at all these earthquakes on the San Andreas. 2 days ago, I was alerted by former agents of the USGS, former employees of the USBS. They were telling me, Ron, look at what's going on the San Andreas Fault. More than ever, we are having a lot of earthquakes on the San Andreas Fault. It's our belief that we may have seismic energy moving down the San Andreas. And if that's the case, there is already seismic energy that's locked up down here. The San Andreas Fault leaves the Petrolia, California area. It goes along the coastline. Then it comes out over the ocean again right before it gets to San Francisco. It comes all the way down here. It goes inland right before it gets to San Francisco as well. It comes down here to San Francisco area. The San Andreas Fault is on the western side of the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up, we all know what happened in 1989 when a 6.9 earthquake hit on the Hayward Fault. We have all this energy coming down the San Andreas. There is a possibility, however minor it might be, there is a possibility that the seismic energy coming down the San Andreas could strike down here. Not as 2.0s, 2.2s, not as 3.8s, but there is a possibility that we could see 6.0, 6.5 earthquakes happen here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We already know that there's a lot of energy locked up here just outside San Francisco Bay. We've seen it happen before. A lot of information here. I understand that. But what I want you to know, we cannot just let this go by. We need to pay attention. I'm putting an earthquake watch out for San Francisco Bay Area. Inland, Hayward Fault, Calaveras Fault area, all the way down to Monterey Bay. We're looking at least a 6.5 earthquake. We're looking at 6.5 earthquake in the San Francisco Bay Area within the next 7 days. I'm putting an earthquake watch out for San Francisco Bay Area for the next 7 days. If it doesn't happen, so be it. At least we put out the watch so people have a reason to be ready. Everybody needs to have a 72-hour kit, at least. You need to have your emergency preparedness kits ready, guys. I kid you not. You need to have your emergency preparedness kits ready. I've said before, we need to have an emergency preparedness plan, whether you're going to shelter in or you're going to bug out. In some cases, it might be even better to shelter in at your house. Whether you shelter outside your house or in your house, you might be able to save yourselves and your family even outside your home. You need to be prepared. Nancy Wolfer says San Francisco Bay, Monterey Bay is very pretty. Yes, it is. I've been there. But we need to be very wary of what's going on. The earthquakes around the Cascadia subduction zone and the Gorda escarpment hit here on Thursday. Today is Sunday, 4 days later. We've had 4 days to have this seismic energy move south, and I believe some of it has. We need to have our eyes peeled for a very, 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 very strong earthquake happen here in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's been too many years. It's been too many years. It's been 26 years since we had a major earthquake happen here. And yet I believe it's going to happen. Charlene Mayo says, is it going to be a strike-slip fault? Yes. It will be a strike-slip fault. Missouri Boat Ride says that sounds scary. I hope it doesn't happen that way for those in that area. I hope not too. But I'd rather put out the warning right now. than to have those people annihilated. Annihilated. And that's what could happen. It's called sitting ducks. I'd rather put out the warning now to at least try to save some lives. And yes, I know for a fact what this means. But I believe everybody needs to be wary of what's happening. Okay? Nancy Welfer says, what is a strike slip fault? Let me take down this map for a few minutes at least. A strike slip fault. Basically, it's like this. Say we're looking at the Cascadia subduction zone. Well, actually, let's not do that Cascadia subduction zone example here. Let's look strictly at the San Andreas fault. A strike slip fault. Energy comes here. Seismic energy comes here. And all of a sudden, it goes like this. Like that. A strike slip fault. At one point, it's held in place by friction. By friction. And all of a sudden, the plate moves, or the fault moves like this. What happens? What happens? The energy moves. And there's great shaking going on. A lot of shaking going on. Now, Kathy Clark says slip strike goes one plate under another. You're right, but not always. Not always. It can happen just like this. The San Andreas goes like this. One plate under another, just like this. Tectonic plate movement. We're talking the San Andreas fault. Like this. Okay? Right now, there's a ton of energy centered around the San Andreas fault. And I'm putting out the warning right now. San Francisco Bay residents and people around there, you need to get your bug out bags ready. You need to have your 72-hour kits ready. You need to have your emergency preparedness kits ready as well. Your emergency preparedness kits ready. Water, food, clothing, first aid kits, medicine, whatever you need. You need to have it ready to go. Those of you that have medicine, whether it's heart pills, whether it's insulin for diabetes or whatever it is, call your doctors tomorrow. Call your doctors tomorrow and have them make sure that you have a 90-day supply of medicine or whatever your need is. Make sure you have a 90-day supply of medicine. You're going to need it. Now, if you're going to bug out, at least have escape routes. As I stated before, you need to have an escape route, all planned out. Not just one, but 3 escape routes, in case one of the roads is closed. What happens when one of the roads is closed? We just had another 4 over there in the Adrianoff Islands around the Aleutian Fault Zone in Adak, Alaska. Seismic energy is going to continue to hit there for days. For days, guys. Days and possibly weeks. Why do we want to have multiple routes planned to get out of Dodge? If one of those streets is closed, one of those routes is closed, you have 2 other routes to go by. Now, I advise everybody, please hear me out here. have multiple routes available. One road is closed, you have two others to go on. Make sure that you're not on major highways, at least to get out of the area where you're at. Stay off the major highways. Either there's going to be a big, huge bolt of people leaving town because they paid attention to what I've said as well. There may be a huge traffic jam, or maybe a roadblock. Maybe Gavin Newsom put up a roadblock so you can't leave town. Use surface streets. Learn to have service streets as your guide. Now, you're going to want to have maps. Why maps? Because the cell towers may not be available. You may not have to be able to use your phones and your maps. Get paper maps. Mark on those maps the different routes that you can take. Different colors. Mark with different colors the route you're going to take to your destination. Whether it's a camping area, a family member's home, wherever you're going, make sure you have 3 separate routes to travel. And you may also have to have 3 separate destinations, just in case one of those destinations is closed or you can't get there. Okay? Now, I used to recommend bugging out. I have some issues with bugging out for the exact same reasons I mentioned. Highways closed, traffic jams, roadblocks. You may not be able to bug out. What's going to happen then? What do you think is going to happen then if you can't bug out? You need to plan on staying home, don't you? We need to start thinking, hey, we're going to shelter in place. We're going to fortify our home. And if we can't stay within the 4 walls of our home, we're going to be in our yard, on our property, camping on our property. I told everybody to have tents or something else to protect you. Because in San Francisco Bay Area, it gets cold at night. It gets bitter cold at night. Fog and bitter cold. You need to have some way to keep warm as well. Think about it. Think about your clothing. Think about your food. Think about your water. We've talked about emergency preparedness kits, food, first aid kits, clothing. How about water? Make sure you have plenty of water available. Now, on Thursday morning this past week, Carol and I had our faucets on drip to make sure we wouldn't have a flood in our apartment when we woke up in the morning. All 3 faucets, both bathrooms and our kitchen, were on drip. Not just drip, we had a steady stream of water coming out of our faucets. Small stream, but a steady stream. We woke up to the ground frozen. We had a water main break near our property. What happens then? We had no water pressure at all for 6 hours. As I stated before, Carol and I have a supply of water. We bought water for our animals here, our 2 dogs. We have about 15 gallons of water for our dogs. Water for cooking as well. We also, every time we use one of those gallon jugs of water for our dogs for cooking, we fill it with tap water and put it away. Put it in our storage. We had to use a gallon of water several times. We used 6 gallons of water to flush toilets Thursday during the day. We had plenty of water. Plenty of water. Rob52 says, don't forget your water heaters. Yes, we had 25 gallons of water in our water heater as well. Make sure you have water. We have over 100 gallons of water outside. We've got 100 gallons of water stored away in our closets. Not our closed closets. We have a storage closet under our stairs. We have another storage closet outside as well. About 200 gallons of water here stored. I recommend that you all do the same. Make some plans, guys. Make some plans. I want all of you to make plans. I want all of you to be smart. You all are talking about tenting and camping gear. Go bags, 72-hour kits. Hurricane Heather is also saying put out-of-town contacts in your phone in case of an emergency. Carol and I have done that as well. Out-of-town phone contacts in your phone, just in case you can't get hold of each other in town. You have to call one of your out-of-town contacts to get in contact with the very people that you love locally. You can't call locally, but you can call out of town. And that out-of-town contact can spread that word through your people, through their phones. You may not be able to talk ear to ear, but your out-of-state contact can get hold of them, and vice versa. Make sure you do that. Sheila Dean says she has one 55-gallon barrel. We do too. But instead of rain, we have it hooked up to a hose. And that hose keeps that barrel full at all times until we have problems. Then we shut off that faucet so our water outside is fresh. And yes, we had to do that on Thursday, because when we turned the water back on in our house, it was murky, it was muddy. We had to run water for about 5 hours to flush out all the dirt and mud. And even then, I told Carol not to use it even to cook with, because it might have germs and dirt still in it. We've always been using the water we had for our dogs also to cook with. But I don't want anybody to get sick. Consider doing what we just did. Rob52 says also swimming pools water. Just boil it. That's true. Sheila Dean says she has a reverse osmosis purifying unit. I also recommend reverse osmosis purifying units. They're very good. They work very, very good. I've had them here myself. Well, actually, we still do. Juby Joe says redundancy. Absolutely. Redundancy. You need to play that game. Play the game of redundancy. If one thing doesn't work, something else will. That's why I'm telling you all to have paper maps. If your mobile app doesn't work on your phone, go back to your paper map. That will work. That will work. Okay? Does anybody have any questions for me? We've had a few other earthquakes off of Central America and South America. Let's go back to the USGS map here, just for a minute. Take down the webcam, take down my banner here. Let's back this out. Way down here. Yes, this is south of Central America, but it is west of South America. This is on the Central East Pacific Rise. This is another large earthquake. This is another large earthquake. But look what we have here as well. We have a swarm of small other earthquakes here as well. They're not small earthquakes, they're large. This one is a 5.3 here. This is a 5.5. This is the largest of the quakes. This is a 5.6. I'm sorry, that was a 5.5. This is the 5.6 here. I knew we had a 5.6. I thought they may have reduced it. We have a 5.5, 5.6, we have a 5.5, and we have another 5.1, as well as this one here being a 5.3. So we have a small swarm of large earthquakes here on the Central East Pacific Rise. So we have large earthquakes out here in the Pacific. These earthquakes are going to go north. These earthquakes are going to work their way north. Down here in the South Pacific, we have a 4.4 here in Lubuka, Fiji. 240 kilometers east of Lubuka, Fiji. Further south down here in the Bellini Islands. This is a 4.8 earthquake that happened earlier this morning, 11:31 a.m. Eastern Time. A 4.8 earthquake, this is 10 kilometers deep. Over here, down here east of Java, this is another 5.0 earthquake. 5.0 earthquake down here in the Banda Sea. 522 kilometers deep. This is still substantially deep. This 4.9, 5.0 is going to propagate another large earthquake. This is going to propagate a 5.8, 5.9 earthquake to happen here sometime here in the Indonesia area, or even up into the Philippines. This is a 4.9, 5.0 that will propagate a larger earthquake somewhere either here in Indonesia or the Philippines. A 5.5 to 5.6 earthquake. Further north here, this is Ternate, Indonesia. This is also 5.0 earthquake, but this is shallow, 37 kilometers deep. To the west here is another 5.0 earthquake, Gorontalo, Indonesia. This is 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Over here to the northeast, Tobelo, Indonesia, a 4.2 earthquake here. This is pretty shallow here, 222 kilometers deep. Now they're not showing all the earthquakes here. They're not showing the earthquakes down here in the Philippines. They're not showing earthquakes around Taiwan. They're not showing earthquakes around Japan. They're showing this 6.0 in the Kuril Islands. They're showing us this earthquake in southern Zhejiang, China. It's a 4.5. We're seeing this 4.2 over here in Afghanistan. This is 192 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow earthquake. But look here. They're not showing any earthquakes here in Turkey or the Syria border region. There's a lot of fighting going on here. A lot of fighting going on here in the Syria-Turkey border region. A lot of earthquakes as well. Now, did you know that Syria President Assad boarded a plane and left Syria last night? His plane went down. I have not heard whether he even survived the accident. Okay? But the USGS is not showing any earthquakes in Turkey. The earthquakes to the north and south of Turkey. Earthquakes to the west of Turkey. Earthquakes here in Greece. Earthquakes here in Italy. Earthquakes over here in France and Germany. Earthquakes over here in Spain. Now, I want to take you up to Iceland. Last night up here in Iceland, there was a very dangerous earthquake that hit here. It hit here in the white area here of Iceland. This is the glacier. Underneath the glacier, there's a volcano. The last time that volcano erupted, it closed air traffic down all over Europe. Last time that volcano erupted, it closed down air traffic all over Europe. It could do it again. It could do it again. Don Patoga says Assad's plane is rumored to be out in Russia. It's possible. Yes, it's possible that it could have happened that way. I hope for his sake that his life was spared. But politically, no one knows what happened. No one knows what happened. Let's go over here to Iceland. Okay? That earthquake happened over here on the northwest side of that glacier. Let me show you what happened. This is a large 5.2 earthquake here. That was a large 5.2 earthquake. Okay? That may have been due as magma was pulling into this volcano. It may have been caused by magma pulling into that volcano. I just want to put that out there for you. We've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen before. Over here in Iceland as well. Sorry about that. Let me open up this map here. I want to go down here into the Reykjanes Peninsula here. Okay? This is the town of Greenavik here. We talked about Greenavik here before. The western side of Greenavik got hit by a volcanic eruption here last year. Now, up here, further to the north, we have something else going on. We have another eruption here. This eruption is a fissure eruption. Yes, the fissure eruption has calmed down some. But the lava is still erupting. And the lava is going westbound. The lava is here near this road. This is the main road between Reykjavik, Iceland, which is the capital, over to the northwest, and it goes all the way down here to Greenavik. The lava pulled over this road and blocked the road to Greenavik. Now, why? What do we know about this? We know that over here, down to the southwest, we have a power plant. We have the power plant down here. The power plant has got a great big huge wall around it, 85 to 100 feet high. The Blue Lagoon Spa also has a huge wall around it. There was a parking lot just outside the Blue Lagoon and outside the wall. The parking lot was covered in lava. The parking lot was covered in lava. They have still not opened up the Blue Lagoon Spa. The geothermal power plant here at Schwarzschild is still in operation. The Icelandic people have learned that they needed to operate this power plant remotely so that no one here was in danger. When they first had a volcanic eruption here, they had to put the power plant on a remote because the sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide levels from the lava erupting were overwhelming the crews. So they pulled out of there to protect their people. The same thing happened to the Blue Lagoon Spa. They have not opened up the Blue Lagoon Spa because the lava is still covering the roadway. But what do you think has happened here? What do you think has happened here? Since the roadway was covered in lava here, there are other roadways that are available to the people in Iceland. They came down here to the northeast side of Grindavik and took this highway further to the south, around to the southern side of Grindavik, and came in to Grindavik to the south side, and drove through Grindavik. And exited out the west side of Grindavik. That way, they could better access the Blue Lagoon Spa. They could better access the Blue Lagoon Spa right down here. The Schwarzschild power plant, and now to the west of that is the Blue Lagoon Spa. So yes, they have access to the Blue Lagoon Spa again, but they have not opened it up yet. That remains to be seen when they're going to open up the Blue Lagoon again. Does anybody have any questions? Show says you can't drive through Grindavik. You can. They've opened up the roads of Grindavik. And in fact, some people are living back in Grindavik. Some people are living back in Grindavik. And these piers here, there's a great fishing industry here in Grindavik. Let me pull down my webcam here so you can see this. There's a great fishing industry here. And the people in Grindavik have been processing the fish and sending them out all over Iceland. Cheryl's saying the Blue Lagoon Spa is open again. I'm glad to hear that. The last time I spoke with Professor Thorvaldsson was earlier this week. He said they weren't sure when it was going to open up again. The Blue Lagoon Spa is a moneymaker for Iceland. They don't want to keep it closed. They don't want to keep the Blue Lagoon Spa closed. They make a lot of money there. But they can drive through Grindavik here, and they have. They have even sent tourists here through Grindavik to show what happened. And then they come out of Grindavik and go over towards the Blue Lagoon Spa. Unreal. Show says they've allowed tourists to go see the new eruption. Yes, they have. They most certainly have. But they're still telling the tourists to stay away, to stay back. They have tourists over at the north side of the eruption on the highway. They haven't blocked the tourists off. And yes, there's a very restricted area where you can go. Does anybody have any questions? I think this is very important. I would not even mention it. Any questions before we take off? I know it's fairly late. It's already 9:30 Eastern Time here. By the way, we just also had within the past 24 hours 2 X-class 2.2 earthquakes, not earthquakes, X-class 2.2 solar flares. 2 X-class flares. Those X-class flares may have been the reason that we had the earthquakes over in the southern Cascadia subduction zone, and the reason we may have had the earthquakes up in the Aleutian Island Fault area. That's why. Nancy Wolfer is asking, Ron, how likely do you think a huge earthquake is to happen? Nancy's saying she thinks there's a 90% certainty it will happen very soon. I have to agree with you to a point. I'm thinking within the next 5 days in Alaska. If San Francisco gets hit, it'll probably be within the next 7 days. That's why I put out a warning for both places. Anchorage, Alaska, Fairbanks area, and also down here in the San Francisco Bay Area. That's what happened. Any questions, guys? Any questions? The eruption in Iceland did not affect Grindavik very much. There have been about 50 people, 50 people in Grindavik the last few times there was an eruption, because they have a wall around Grindavik. They were fairly certain that the lava would not come into Grindavik at all, and they've been right. George Rashad says, please remember to give us a thumbs up. Thank you for that, George. Please, folks, give us a thumbs up. Also, please remember this. USBS, not USBS, I'm sorry, I get mad at YouTube and USBS. YouTube is continuing to unsubscribe people. Please check your subscriptions and make sure you're still subscribed to our channel. I think it's important. It's not for me. It's for all of you. I want to make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you can get the latest information we have for you. I want you to have the information. If you're not subscribed, there's a likelihood that you won't get our notifications. Make sure you're still subscribed to our channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel and also click, there's a little notification bell. Click on that little notification bell. When you click on that notification bell, there's a drop-down menu that will pop up. Click on the word ALL, all. That way you're getting notified when we come on the air. But be advised, YouTube does not always notify us, notify anybody. So, every day, we come on the air Monday through Friday between 6 to 7 p.m. in the evenings, Eastern Time. So you always know when you can come and try to find us on the air. Closer to 6 p.m. is likely. Yes, there are times we don't come on the air until later. I understand that. One day this week was closer to 8 o'clock Eastern Time. That's because we had a hard time getting YouTube to let us on the air. Normally, we take Saturdays off, and that's what we did yesterday. We came on the air earlier this afternoon with our Sunday school class, Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. And we talked a lot about the Savior Jesus Christ. Tonight, I came back on the air to give you the availability of the earthquakes in the Aleutian Island zone, because I believe Alaska is next. And I still believe that San Francisco Bay Area could be a next hit as well. I wanted to make sure we put out an earthquake watch for both places. I wanted to make sure you had that information. Lawrence Bear is asking, how about the new battered fault? Someone saw a 2.7 earthquake just like I did in Missouri today. Yes, there was a 2.7 there. Someone asked me, what happened with that 2.7? It was not the only earthquake in the new battered area. The new battered earthquake area, the new battered fault area, has probably 500 earthquakes a day. 500 earthquakes a day from Illinois to the north, all the way down to Louisiana on the south, with Missouri and Arkansas having the greatest number of earthquakes. Earthquakes and tremors, up and down the entire New Battered Fault, every day. Helen says she just found us, she lives in Alaska, just found our channel. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you're here, Helen. Please subscribe to our channel. And like I said, hit the notification button as well, right next to the subscription button. Click on the notification bell and also click on the word ALL so you get notified when we come on the air. Everyone, please check your subscriptions. Make sure you're still subscribed to this channel. YouTube doesn't like us for whatever reason. I don't give a darn anymore. They don't like us. They keep unsubscribing people. That's why I keep asking everybody to resubscribe. If you've been unsubscribed, resubscribe, and then click on that notification bell so you get notified when we come on the air. We have to stay one step ahead of YouTube. We have to take one step ahead of YouTube at all times. Canadian Patriot 1, Dawn Patoka, Hurricane Heather, Renee Steppe, and many other of our mods get unsubscribed all the time. Keep your subscriptions checked, almost on a daily basis. That's how often YouTube pulls stupid tricks. Now, Heather said something important. I think it's very important. And Heather, I want to thank you for that. Heather is one of our mods and very much one of my dear sisters. She said, and I quote, "If you get a tsunami warning, run up a hill, don't walk. Run up a hill, don't go down, please. Run up a hill, get away from that tsunami. If there is a major earthquake, and you live on the coast, there is a chance of a tsunami if your earthquake is over a 6.5 very strong earthquake. There is a chance of a tsunami, anything 6.5 and over. If you have a 6.5 earthquake, be advised, you may have only 15 to 20 minutes to get out of Dodge. Get away from the seashore. Far away. Far away. Because if the tsunami happens, it will hit the coast about 15 or 20 minutes after the earthquake stops shaking. That doesn't count aftershocks. 15 to 20 minutes after the main shock. then you're going to have a tsunami. That tsunami could be anywhere from 2 feet to 50 to 75 to 100 feet high. You don't know. And you definitely don't know how far inland it's going to go. Drive until you're far away from it, and only come back towards shore, to your home, if after 2 hours later the tsunami hasn't happened. There's a pretty good chance you're going to be safe going back home. But stay away from your seashores. Stay far away from your seashores. Okay? As NCWQ Worldwide News and Disaster Explorer says, it's better to be prepared than to be caught unaware. That's why we are on the air. That's why we are on the air. NCWQ, her name is Rebecca. She did an earthquake advisory earlier. She told her people there to come and watch our channel tonight, because we give the latest up-to-date information. Please, folks, please go show her channel some love as well. NCWQ Worldwide News and Disaster Explorer. Someone else that I want you to check out. His name is Brokefish N. Brokefish N here on YouTube. He talks a lot about fires. A lot about fires and even earthquakes in the southern Oregon area. That's where he lives. Brokefish N is a very dear friend of mine and a moderator on this channel. Go check his channel out and subscribe to his channel as well. He's a good man. He's a very good man. I appreciate him. I care. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about? I want to make sure you got it. You need to be prepared in the very, very least. You need to know what's going on. Charlene is talking about the Appalachian Mountain Range to Canada. That's East Coast. The East Coast. Part of the Continental Divide. That's East Coast Continental Divide. We all need to be prepared for that. Why? Because the Atlantic Plate is moving. The Mid-Atlantic Plate is expanding. It's pushing Africa and Europe in an easterly direction. It's pushing North America, Greenland, Canada, the United States, and northern Mexico in a southwesterly direction. That's why we have all kinds of earthquakes on the East Coast. And yes, the USGS is not showing us any earthquakes on the East Coast today. But there are. There are. There are probably 300 earthquakes all up and down the East Coast, including Canada. And USGS doesn't hardly show any of them. There are earthquakes on the Continental Divide as well. The Atlantic Plate is expanding. It's pushing the North American Plate to the south-southwest, putting more pressure on the New Madrid Fault. Now, seismic energy coming from the west coast, from the Pacific Ocean, subducting underneath the west coast of North America. It's also putting pressure on the New Madrid Fault from the west. So the New Madrid Fault is getting squeezed, literally. That's what's going on. Someone asked me yesterday, what's going to happen with the New Madrid Fault? I fully expect to have a major earthquake on the New Madrid Fault within the next 2 years. I expect to have a major earthquake on the New Madrid Fault within the next 2 years. I expect to have a Cascadia megathrust earthquake in the Pacific Northwest in the next 5 years. 5 years. Think about it. Think about it. Charlene is asking, would that mean the Midwest could sink? That's not what I'm talking about at all. That's not what I'm talking about at all. She's saying all of the center of the USA in the great days of antiquity were underwater. That's not what's going to happen right away. If you look at the Navy maps, the Navy maps have a large portion of the United States underwater. But that's not what's going to happen with the Pneumatic Fault. The Pneumatic Fault is a beast unto itself. But it's going to shake. It's going to shake hard. Hard. I've been watching the Pneumatic Fault for years now. 4 years ago, people asked us about the Pneumatic Fault. Don't worry about it. It's only having minor tremors. Well, in the past 4 years, those minor tremors have grown to 3.5, 3.7, 4.0, and 4.5 earthquakes on the Pneumatic. Is USGS saying anything? Heavens no. They don't want to tell anybody what's going on. That's what's going on. Someone's asking, where's Brokefish N? Right now, I believe he's in the middle of a live stream. Brokefish N is having a live stream, a fundraiser for his son, to get him a computer to live stream himself. So if you want to go over there and help Brokefish N, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Okay? Just a second. My buddy Don Patoka. I've known Don for a lot of years. We probably go back about 6 or 7, 8 years. Don says, enjoy natural selection. Don't bother to prepare. Actually, Don, you're not far from being right. You're not far from being right. Because the liberal community, the people that we have picking on us, the people that pick on us, including the techie people from YouTube, they don't like us because we are right. They don't like us because we have the answers. They don't, because they don't pay attention. They only pay attention to what they want, which is not righteous. I'm not saying everybody on the left is unrighteous, but a great portion of the people on the left wing of our society are not righteous people. They're not paying attention. They don't care. And what you're going to find is those left-wing liberals are going to be on the outside of our society looking in, wishing they'd pay attention. Wishing they paid attention. I get quite a few people each week. Ron, I was a liberal. Since I've been talking to you and watching you, I've changed. I've started thinking about my family. I've started thinking about you and others. What I'm counseling everybody to do is think about yourselves. Get yourselves prepared. Try to get yourselves prepared as much as possible. Because what is happening is out beyond our even wildest imaginations. I am glad that President Trump won the election, because now we have a chance for change. Now we have a chance for change, real change. And I'm talking to keep this country held together. Because before now, this country was falling apart. Our country is falling apart. And frankly, I personally, me, Ron Tyler, I don't know who is even leading this country today. Yes, President Trump takes over on January 20th. About 40 days from now. But who is running this country? It's certainly not Biden. Biden probably can't even tie his shoes. Biden is mentally not there. That's not his fault. It's age. Biden is hindered by his age. Not like President Trump. President Trump has these faculties about him. Biden does not. Who I believe is running this country is George Soros and Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Obama hates his country. Back in 2009 when he took over as president, he was a community organizer. He was trying to transform this country, one city, one state at a time. He lived in Illinois. He didn't know his face from a hole in the ground. He didn't. He became a senator. Then he became the President of the United States. He said at the time he was elected back in 2009, he was going to transform this country, and transform he did. The Biden administration was a third term from Barack Obama. Barack Obama came out and campaigned for Harris, and she lost. She lost big time. She was another left-wing liberal. She didn't know her head from a hole in the ground either. And yet, Barack Obama was out performing for her. And everything she touched turned to crap. It's not surprising that she spent billions of dollars campaigning over 2 months' time. And now her campaign is $20 million in the hole, and wondering why. That's what happened. Rob 52 is saying Harris went into hiding. That's exactly right. First, she took a vacation with her husband to the islands. Now nobody knows where she's at. She's hiding. She's not going to hide forever. Congress is going to subpoena her before Congress, and she may go to jail. Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and other politicians may go to jail because of what they did. It remains to be seen what the other politicians is going to happen to them. But many of them are going to end up in prison because of what they did. Okay. Nancy Wolper says justice will be served. I agree. Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on politics. This is Sunday night. I don't like to talk about politics on Sunday night. I like to talk about Christ and what he did for all of us. As I said earlier today, I love Jesus Christ. I talk of Jesus Christ. I live of Jesus Christ. My wife and I pray like we've never prayed before. I would like each and every one of you to do the same. Pray as if your lives depended on it, because they do. They do. I'm going to put up this meme here that I found a long time ago. Never forget, nothing is more powerful than prayer. Nothing is stronger than faith. And nothing is greater than God. Amen. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I don't come on the air unjustly. I don't like to come on the air several times a day, as I see some of my fellow YouTubers do. I don't come on the air unless it's absolutely necessary. That's why I came on the air tonight. I thought that it was absolutely necessary. And I'm very excited that our mods came out here as well, not just to support me, but to help each other, to help all of us. Brothers and sisters, I love you. Juby Joe, I'll send you your book this week. Promise. I love you. I love you. I care about you. And I always will. May God be with you this day and always. May God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the outside tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be back here. Same time, same station. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to talk about it as soon as the information becomes available. The same thing about tomorrow morning. If anything changes from tonight, we'll be back here tomorrow morning to talk about it. Otherwise, we will be back here tomorrow evening, sometime after 6, between 6 and 7 o'clock. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy each other. God be with you until we meet again.